true leader is the one who will see your potential in you when you yourself cannot see your potential, right? How do you think for this?
So, I mean, let's call it a leader, not just a true leader. It could be done by anyone. And
Hmm.
yes, so leaders generally have this knack of spotting talent,
Hmm.
even if they are underconfident in them. And this happened to me
Hmm.
when I was in my third company. So I was able to spot a lot of talents in them, in there basically, uh, who were extremely underconfident, and I was more confident on them than they were on themselves. And eventually, we figured out a way, and now they are in good places. Even at Sensen, my first company, uh, the initial hires were strong, and all of the people that I have hired, and I'm very proud to say that, is that we picked up talent, we groomed them, and all of them are in Fortune 500 companies or building great startups on their own. So yeah, that was the first answer to your. That was the answer to your first question. What was the second?
Question. No, it was just like we say, right? Like the leaders are the one who know your potential better than you know your own potential. That's it. I think I've
True.
given the answer.
True. That's absolutely true, and I agree to that. And because when you know someone to an extent where you're able to understand what they are feeling, it's kind of okay. And your current situation, actually, your confidence or underconfidence generally is very highly affected by your past 6 months of things. And if past 6 months you have been crushing it, you will be highly confident. You will not think of underconfidence at all. But at the same time, if there were episodes of underconfidence, and if you are a cautious person by nature, you would start getting underconfident. And this is what I have realized over the years, that when people become underconfident, extremely strong people become underconfident, who had achieved a lot, built
Hmm.
uh, great startups from scratch, built big teams, managed big teams, got in great amount of revenues for the company. They, when I see them becoming, kind of underconfident, that it used to ache my heart. But at the same time, then I realized, okay, it's just a matter of few months. They will eventually figure out. So your
True.
statement or your question is actually true, and I agree to that.
True. Thank you. And it's so beautiful to see your people growing, right? It's so
Yes,
beautiful.
yes.
So I'm very thankful to all my leaders or managers who have shaped me like this. Okay. The way
True.
you are
Same,
saying it, I'm feeling the same. I'm very grateful to all of them. Okay.
same. It's the gratefulness that really matters in the end. And if you have had good managers, nothing is better than that. I mean, I have seen people run behind money, but my advice to every youngster out there would be, follow leaders and not the companies and not the money. It's the leader that you follow will matter.
Rest all is just a byproduct.
Rest, everything is a byproduct.
Exactly.
So what I earn now is more than 20, 30 times of what I started now, back when I started. And part of that goes to my manager too. I mean, the main credit goes to my first manager. So if I hadn't got enough freedom, or if I hadn't got enough chances, I wouldn't be who I was.
Hmm.
Right?
Agree.
Couldn't agree more.
Thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of people will get a lot of insights from you and they can apply this in their life, right?
True. True.
It's a very insightful podcast. So let's move to the next section, which is leading through change and uncertainty. What advice do you have for leaders who are navigating their teams through times of uncertainty and change?
So let's make it about a situation where there has been a lot of firing in the company.
Hmm.
Okay, and you are brought in as a new leader, and what do you do in that case? Okay,
Hmm.
so in that case, the basic thing is to first make everyone comfortable. Initially, people would not be willing to trust you, and you will have a really hard time establishing yourself. And most managers will turn to authoritative leadership style, and that's the worst thing you can ever do in that situation. Be
Hmm.
empathetic, tell people they are important,
Yes.
especially something like that when it has been done. uh, kind of understand the business landscape first as a leader, and then communicate with the team. Okay, I think in those situations, some companies prefer transparency, some don't, and most of the companies do not prefer transparency. And the lack of transparency is what exactly becomes the real problem, because people, when they do not know about something, they tend to assume things, and those assumptions uh, really hurt the company and how the company goes forward. If the company is going bankrupt, it's fine, you can hardly do anything. But in some situations, many leaders would be faced with a challenge where, you know, the your role would mean you come in and you fire everyone and you build your own team. Okay, so
Hmm.
if you are some sort of, or if you are stuck in this kind of situation, be I mean my first advice would be ki, before even joining the company, get a heads up on this, get a complete landscape, talk to people, talk to the real people, the CEOs and the main stakeholders in the company, and
Hmm.
then get into the company. But and if you are already in the company where you have to do this thing, it's fine, and you'll need to somehow connect to the team and make a distance between you being a part of the company as a whole, what it needs to do, and
Hmm.
the individuals that you're talking to. If you are able to distance yourself from them and talk to them from a perspective where you are representing the company, but you are not the company, maybe that can, and generally that eases your situation. And believe me, I have done some kind of talks like that. It really eases, and not with an entire team but with few members, and it really eases the solution, it really eases the situation. And most of the times I have fought for the rights of who I was letting go. So that's one thing which you should always remember. Do not let anyone get away with. I mean, that's a personal choice. Maybe most of the times it won't work, but it's worth a try. That you give them all the rights that they deserve, and so on. So uh, that's a wonderful form of leadership when you do change management, and at the same time, when you are able to stabilize the team like this, which is the remains of an underconfident team. And I generally do not like leaving team members who were initially part of the company, when you let go majority of them, because eventually that will lead to a toxic environment, and people would start, and there would be a lot of gossips, they would start gossips, they would start rumors, a lot of things happen. So instead of that, I mean, till the time, so why this is all of this is done is to make the business continuity possible. And eventually you will need to change those people, and that's a tough call, but yes, you will have to take those tough calls to really get a change in the environment, because it's okay. I mean, many things are not in your control. Plannings have been wrong, and maybe it's not your fault, or maybe it is, as a leader. Because when you go into a leadership position, you need to have certain skill sets, not just for managing people, but at the same time, nobody hires just someone just to manage people. You have additional responsibilities towards it, right? So that's the whole part of it. Whenever you are given a responsibility to manage people in that way, you'll really have to think of a lot of perspectives and then take your action through. For example, planning is one very important part of how many members you need in a team. And in
Mm.
general, for me, I generally keep the team slightly starved. And the reason is I do not want a constant hire and fire cycle.
True.
Most companies, or many companies, not most companies, I'm sorry for that. Many companies, what they do is, initially when they're getting talent, they hire talent at pumped prices, and then when the work is done, they let go of them. Okay, and
True.
these are truth bombings. Okay, they let go of them, and then they hire cheaper people who are, I mean, not cheaper people, people who come at a lesser cost to the
Better.
company. Yeah.
True, but yeah.
Yeah. So the reason is, once your product is built, you need lesser, you need to really get low on your cost. And there could be other reasons as well. I do not want to enlist every single reason, but yeah, these are the these are the situations where you will really be unfortunate, and you know, a lot of trust factors will break, and eventually you will restart. So restarting is one of the things that we should always learn, and at the same time be mindful of your responsibilities towards the team, wherein especially when you're doing capacity planning and stuff like that, so that you don't have too many people which you have to let go.
Mm.
And but yeah, I mean, that's a generic thing. That's a good thing to say. It looks good when I say, but at the same time, in the market, let's say if software engineers, that's the hot topic, if software engineers are earning a way lot of money in other companies, you'll have to give them that amount until that time goes, because you need to get your work done, right? So in those situations, I mean, all of these conversations about AI looks good on paper, but at the same time, it could be very easily handy uh, and extremely useful in these type of situations. As I told, the hard things is what AI, where AI shines the most. So these are the situations where my common strategy is to differentiate myself from the company and the team as individuals. So I talk to each member, I explain them the situation. This is the thing, this is what I can do for you, and how else do you want me to help you? Okay, so these are the tough times. And let's say, when you say organizational change, it could be a kind of different changes altogether. So for example, if you want to make a change in the culture of the company, that
Mm.
change requires a very different approach. That change requires you to make mindset changes. So sometimes, even if you are not leading everyone, you can build a culture from the ground up. So you talk to people, you understand their situations, you understand their problems, slowly kick off few things, maybe start discussions within the team, keep it a discussion which the team feels the team is in control of, and set up something within the team where some people would want to lead, and the conversations. And then, kind of, I mean, these are just examples which could be used to build a culture from ground up. So as a leader, you need to be kind of unconventional also sometimes, like these facilities. So for example, I used to conduct and I still do, I used to really ask the team members to create 2 3 small committees. One of the main committees was a Toastmasters committee, and anyone who is in a leadership position,
Hmm.
they would basically go up and lead that team, and it would be in rotation if there are multiple people who are expecting to learn leadership. So within the team, they lead the people within the team, and then at the same time they discuss the topics what has to be discussed, and then
Hmm.
the larger audience, they present themselves as their committee. They give them a topic to talk about. Everyone in the team speaks about the topic, what they think of it, and then eventually what happens is, this whole set of conversation teaches us few things. One is you become vocal as an individual, and at the same time you learn how to differentiate between personal attacks and attacking the statement. So uh, especially around debates where most of the problem starts with personal attacks, as I have seen. So when
Hmm.
you teach the entire team that personal attacks is something which needs to be avoided, they eventually learn it. And some people will be slow at learning, some would take a year, some would take 2 years, but eventually all I've seen is most people learn, at least whoever are in office. So
Hmm.
this is how you build a culture from ground up. I mean, this is just one example which I do, where as a leader you can build the culture from ground up, and if you want to build a culture shift, that works too. And uh, I mean, you need HR support also if the organization is large, but if the organization is within 1,000 people, it hardly matters. But yeah, I mean, as you grow more, it starts to increase, and you really have to subdivide to effectively manage. And assuming that you are leading effective people, the optimal amount of people, or kind of suboptimal also works, but not overly suboptimal.
Hmm.
It works in those scenarios. And the in larger companies, change management can be driven by the top management. It could be a top down approach, and it could also be a bottom up approach. So OKRs and other things also come into picture here, where let's say you are rewarded for uh, what the culture the company wants to build, and you are penalized for the culture that the company doesn't want to build. Like you exhibit behaviors which align with the company cultures, and those will be rewarded. When you display behaviors which would get away from the company's culture, that would be penalized. And that's the generic way. I don't like penalizing, I just like rewarding. So maybe and that has worked out for me until now, and I think if there is a change, I'll let you know.
Oh, you have given lots of insight, Pranav. I'm sure it will help a lot of people. Plus, I think you have already built a great team, or you'll be on the verge of building. What I can get from this.
True. I mean, I have people, and they are just ready to help whenever they want. So that's the rapport which I have built with the team.
It's very important.
True.
Plus, it's not just a company. Company people, anyways, can change. But what you've taught and your persona, they will remember. They can stay in
True.
touch with you because of that. That's more important.
True. True.
Yes.
True.
Thank you. So let's move on to next, which is leadership and technology. So next question is, how is
Hmm.
technology influencing leadership practices, especially with the rise of AI and automation?
So I think I discussed it some time back. Technology will eventually affect the mindset of people. and that mindset will keep changing and shifting as the society evolves with the adoption of newer technologies. So we are moving towards AGI, but uh, we are not there right now. Frankly speaking, we are not there right now. And right now, there is a lot of marketing which is going on for the LLMs, let's say generative pre-trained transformers or LLMs,
Yes.
and a lot of other models that is happening, and that's for marketing. You'll really have to see the limitations of it really in a practical way, because most of these models, they are not as capable as they marketed to, and that's how marketing works. Like, that's marketing 101. Okay,
Hmm.
so the thing is, AI and these things are not there to replace humans, because we always deal with probabilities in few things, and as humans by nature we like certainty. So I'm not sure whether this part of humans will change, where people would want things to be uncertain, because majority of the population wants things to be certain, right? So if that is the case, then AI will never be able to replace it, because but at the same time, menial jobs and as a society, we are progressing towards a higher IQ. If you see it right from the start of humanity, how it rose. So as we get higher in IQ, we will tend to focus on work that is more meaningful, more towards on the side where you do the actual thinking, and something which the technology can be used as a tool. So it's, in the end, it's a tool. So think of it like a screwdriver. If you don't have a screwdriver, you'll have to use your nails maybe, or something else. But if your nails are not big, you are really uh, you know in a soup that time. But yeah, again, AI is just like a screwdriver. You just open it, you open the bolt that you want to, and it will get your work done. So there are a lot of progressions in AI, both in terms of the physical aspects where you see robots, and at the same time, emotive aspects where we see some of the emotive models which are emerging. Although I'm not very sure of their efficacies, but there are emotive models which are being worked on, and some are very well funded. And that's where we see that whether we'll be able to create an environment where the society as a whole accepts few things or not. Because you know for example, let's say, just take an example of Ruby on Rails, right? It came in with a big hype, and then it eventually died. Now there are very less. I mean, every language is suited for something. I can go on arguing about that for a long time. But the point is, some things stay for some time. AI is going to stay, but at the same time, what the main challenge that we are seeing now is, the rosy pictures that are being painted for investments into the company by AI companies. I'm not very confident on the rosy pictures that are being painted, because of the nature of how machine learning, deep learning, and other things work. So, and okay, and the reason why I say this is because I have been in that industry for 7 years. So, yeah. So, having said that, yes, the leadership styles will change. We have newer people coming up, and older people coming in, going out, and so the shift is with a lot of things. AI and tech is definitely going to be a big game changer in that. But again, it is because of the people who would be using that tech. So Gen Zs and Gen Alphas would be, let's say, if they are more willing to use tech, yeah, it will be heavily influenced by tech. And what happens is that, let's say, if you with tech, what happens is there becomes disconnections between people, and as we are already seeing in a lot of Gen Alpha studies, that uh, the disconnect between people is rising, and people are becoming more introverts, of that sorts. And at the same time, the effect of social media and polarizations created due to social medias do pose a threat. And for example, let's take a very funny situation, and this is kind of unconventional, as I would say. So there are many stand-up comedians who do stand-up comedy on the work side, where they talk about how ill a manager is, right? Now imagine that coming when you have a bad day at work, right? So it really affects you. And add to that fact that there is no material, or nobody is posting out really what leadership should be. I mean, there are a lot of postings done by leadership coaches, but the thing is, uh, they are not the people who are in the industry. So there are very few people in India. We have a lot of founders that are talking about, and that's a very good thing, but it's still not enough because they are very less in number. And the polarization has actually created a drift between in people, and nobody is talking about it. That's the real problem. And we have very few researches, and some of them are ongoing still, with the effects of social media on the workplace or on a person, you are as a whole. So in my view, most probably what happens is, all of the any content which becomes viral is generally polarizing, although there are good contents too, but in general it's polarizing. And polarization creates a drift and disconnect between people. This is the tech side of it,
Hmm.
kind of marketing also, and mm, other things also included. But yeah, so with this, your leadership style should change. I mean, if you fall into the group where people are making fun of, you should be able to show that, there are few things more to it, and you are not a manager, you are a leader. So eventually
True.
people will start posting about these too, and then we'll have a good amount of positive polarization also. Right now there is a lot of negative polarization that is happening.
Mhm. Sure.
So that's how I think the leadership landscape will change. And maybe there would be more stand-up comedians who paint the better pictures also. They paint the pictures of leaders and not just managers. So but it's fun to watch them.
Yes. I can remember also now many of them.
Yes.
Okay. We can have a separate podcast on AI and automation with you, Pranab,
Sure,
sometime.
sure, sure.
Thank you so much for the insights. Let's move on to next. So, what tools or platforms do you recommend for leaders to enhance communication and collaboration within their teams?
Uh, so it depends on the leader who you are. It's a
Hmm.
personal choice. So in my case, I generally choose what the team decides, because eventually you will have to convince everyone to really use something, right? So why not just let the team do it? Let the team come to a conclusion. So we have a democratic oath, not oath, sorry, democratic vote. And with the vote, it becomes clear that which one the team is inclined towards. And as a culture, if it is a culture that you're trying to follow, it's okay. I mean, that's a different case in that scene. But the idea is to encourage engagements and all. It's, I think tools are less important. More important is building the connects with each person, and
Hmm.
building the connects between those people. So you teach someone, or you teach your future leaders uh, the way you would want them to be, and eventually they would realize, they would find themselves, and most probably you should focus on creating better leaders in them. And
Hmm.
when the basic thing is to increase collaboration, the one cent which I can give directly is that uh, you know you really should be creating more leaders to to
Right.
really engage them, and really engage collaboration, because if everyone thinks like a leader, you really don't need someone to lead them, right? And
True.
eventually everything falls into plan. That is possible, I have done that. That is practically possible. And if it is not possible, what you do is have an uh, open conversation with the team. And most of the time, some you will be required to make it off office activity also,
Yes. I
because
agree.
it's yes, it's not just the in office activities that you connect to, because what I believe, and I kind of got this thought from my first manager, people are not what they are in the office. I mean, people, there is more to people, right? In
Yes.
office, you are limited by just a few things that you do at work. So the more you interact with people outside office, also, the better chances are to get to know them. And it's okay. I mean, some people would also see this as a problem, because, or not a problem. The biggest thing is intrusion, because some people feel that their work life and personal life should be separate, and that should be respected. So you will have multiple kind of people in your team, so you should respect everyone's views. So if you find someone who doesn't want to get involved, you should
Hmm.
respect that, and it is okay to let them not involve. You cannot involve everyone who, and anyone who doesn't want to get involved, right? So it is fine. They can still be your go-to people. They can still be a very good resource, and a team works fine. So it's a matter of balance, and it's a matter of understanding the differences between us. That really is, because if I say just one thing, it paints a rosy picture which not everyone might agree with. So in a team, the basic idea is mutual agreement. And when you start respecting the boundaries, when you start respecting the mutual agreements, or when you form good mutual agreements, that's the best thing that you can do. And it eventually creates harmony in the team. So,
True.
yep, I think that answers your question, I guess.
That answered many questions. Okay. Thank you.